According to UNESCO, this is what intangible cultural heritage is. All those things about traditional arts and social practice, rituals, etc., those are broken up into 5 domains of intangible cultural heritage or living cultural heritage. And this is again something that I had a lot of difficulty with. In fact, I was extremely annoyed with the Ministry of Culture here in Delhi for going ahead with stupidly, I mean idiotically, with Kumbh Mela. With Kumbh Mela as intangible cultural heritage. And I wrote to them saying, what the hell is wrong with you? I mean, why are you even doing this? Just leave it alone, for God's sake. Because they load onto themselves this pressure that let us have in our agency pipeline, in the UN agency pipeline, a number of dossiers which keeps us busy. You know, the whole bureaucratic imperative which keeps us busy. And then if 1 out of 6 or 7 of them succeed, then we are in clover for the next 3 to 4 years. We don't have to do anything.
Also, they really try to commercialize these things by listing them in these.
They do, certainly for the smaller countries. They do.
Something going to the UNESCO site list. Like what happens? What like why people aim? Okay, we need Kumbh Mela on this. What is the whole idea behind it? Maybe the bureaucratic mind unwrapping it. What is it?
Sushant, the bureaucratic mind couldn't care less whether it's Kumbh Mela or whether it's some tokery sitting somewhere. They just want to be able to put it, to describe it in a 12 or 13 page format, send it to UNESCO,
There is a set format for this.
There is a set format for this. There is a set format for this. Good question. Countries can apply.
Because I know heritage sites get funding.
Countries can apply for funding to do the nomination process itself, which is something again that I found absurd and extraordinary. That means you're asking me, if I'm an indigenous community sitting somewhere in Borneo, my national government is asking me to help with the description of something which I can't use my own language, I have to use yours, which is not even yours, it comes from UNESCO, and for which you are taking money from UNESCO to do this in order that what you write, not what I write, I tell you something, you write something else, what you write will be put on a UNESCO on a UNESCO list which will be distributed then worldwide, and at the end of it I have no idea what that will do to me, that whole process, and that the end product, which is the listing, what is it going to do to me, to my clan, to my tribe, to my community? I have no idea whatsoever. So, I mean, again, I have to say what I've been telling you since yesterday is the result of long and often tortuous thinking on my part about what am I doing with this agency, what is this agency doing, and do I have any role in this whole thing? And I mean, I have to say, I would completely candidly admit to you that this began to happen only around 2015-16 to me, which, as I told Rahulji, then I decided I really didn't want to have much to do with anymore. Let's remove UNESCO from this. Let's say all UN agencies which have anything to do with traditional knowledge or with environment, or with both, because a number of them do. FAO I stepped out of. I mean, I'm still connected to that Committee on Food Security through that consultative thing, but I don't do anything because it has become meaningless. FAO, right from the start, from the time that I got to know it, has been heavily controlled by the food MNCs and by the global fertilizer companies, and what used to be the clutch of agri-commodity traders. There used to be 3 big ones: Archer Daniel Midlands, Louis Dreyfus, and Bunga. And these are, at that time, this was in the 2008-9, some of them are still there in the original form, some of them are split, mergers, acquisitions and all that. But they are controlled by these 3 entities a great deal. And of course, there's a 4th, which is the ag-biotech industry. So when these 4 controlling forces in FAO began exerting huge pressure on consultative system to the CFS, the Committee on Food Security, that's when I said, look, there's no place for small fry like me here. I certainly can't make my voice heard beyond where this forum will allow me to. So why bother participating in it at all? All of them do this wherever they have anything to do with either environment, natural world, or traditional knowledge in whatever sense they have. If I had to synthesize what I've learned from them is that they want to do this listing. They have this pathological need to collect and list, like the 19th century European encyclopedists. Let's move out into the world and gather into our boxes and cages and steamer trunks all possible species and people and all kinds of things and measure them and print out categorize them, make tables and so on and so on. This is something that I don't know, it's their identity in some strange way. But that is one part. The other part is again ultimately it will be, if it is allowed to continue, if we are not successful in stopping it, in identifying it and stopping it, it will be very destructive because of what I just mentioned about the process of describing. That they are taking away the power that you have, which is your inalienable right to describe yourself in a matter that you choose or your community chooses in a language that you want.
This definition is a good example of they doing it for us.
So not only that.
Intangible cultural heritage from our lands.
Well, obviously it took me a while to begin to confront this term itself. I just took it at face value and said, okay, intangible cultural heritage is something that I understand better as traditional knowledge. If UNESCO wants to use this term, let's just go with it. I don't see any reason why we are spending money and spending time and effort on doing this, subscribing to this whole listing activity, which is carried out by the UNESCO cultural conventions. If at all listing is required and therefore recognition is required, that should be local, i.e. at a national level or provincial level, whatever you like, through using a means that we derive from our own understanding of what this means to us and what it symbolizes, and without having to strain and exert ourselves in the one direction of tangible and another direction of intangible, which anyway has no meaning to us. To dissociate language from culture and say that yes, we understand that your language is now spoken by only 250 people, but we can't do anything to save it because it's not part of what our convention does. I mean, what kind of an explanation is that? What UNESCO says in response is that, we treat languages separately through our program, which is called, what is the program called? Something about the Atlas of Endangered Languages or the Roster of Endangered Languages or something like that, which is in fact nothing more than a sorry record of how true cultural protection has, at the international level, has in fact failed and continues to fail at a much faster rate. That is what it is. Because if you do not see, if you're saying that you are interested through your organization to protect any sort of cultural expression or manifestation or practice, and you say that I will do only this but not language, then I would say that your approach is null and void. Because what medium are you going to use? You're certainly going to use a medium that is alien to the very people whose expressions, rituals, practices, etc. You are setting out to save. So what is going to be your medium of discourse? One would automatically assume that it does have that much importance, because either that it does have that much importance, which we will arrive at through a process of discussion and understanding, or that we keep it open-ended and then let the knowledge-bearing community set out what it feels are areas that need immediate attention, urgent attention, and then longer term things. But neither of these, which you would think is the common sense way to go about it, is actually adopted. You see, whatever they have on endangered languages doesn't reduce their endangerment in no way. What it does is simply points out that 10 years ago, such and such language in this part of Timor had 800 speakers, and to the best of our knowledge, last year when we did a survey, now it's come down to 500. And they'll change the color of the indicator from orange to red. And that's it. What is done for it, we don't know. Whatever is done at the local level, if at all anything is done, will then hopefully, and if the slide, the disuse has been arrested or at least reversed a little bit, in the next survey, then from red it will turn back to orange, and then the UN program will say, look, we've managed to do this. What we mentioned earlier, the credit hogging part. So this is generally the approach that they take. But you see, as Gayatri correctly identified, this it's a you can't call it the trivialization of language. You have to call it the expropriation of an indigenous form of communication and description, and its replacement by as a convoluted bureaucraties, which then becomes the idiom in which even the Ministry of Culture starts to talk to its lesser constituents. Oh, we've done capacity building. Oh, we have successfully filled in the requests for criteria to do a nomination, and so on. So this becomes part of their language and part of their official documents themselves, based on which then they run programs at the, let's say, state or provincial level. So when that happens, then we have the propagation really of vague and alien terminology, which sooner or later, and in fact in some of these cases it has happened sooner, which makes its way into the districts. When it makes its way into the districts, then of course the disintegration goes on at a much faster rate. Yeah, so this is certainly a big part of the danger.